Okay, hey everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today at RHE Podcast. This is Isaiah Diesel, joined with my partner in crime, Kaz. Kaz, how are you doing? It's morning here, but what time is it there?
About 4 p.m. actually.
4
How's it
p.m.
going?
And, all right, not too bad. And I am broadcasting from an undisclosed location, some random hotel room, because I don't want to get caught if we share too many secrets here today. Have you gotten a chance to think about these questions that we're going to be talking about aliens today, Kaz?
Yeah, I did actually. Let's look over them. Ready to rock and roll.
And we got a very special guest, Rob. He's joining. Actually, I do have something. Excuse me. I do have something very important to say that Rob is back from the dead, because we haven't seen Rob for about 7 months on the station. He must have been very busy. So, Rob, can tell us what's been going on with your life?
Well, lots of things. Getting books written. I've had, let's see, since last time I was on, I think I've gotten 3, maybe 4 published. I don't know. You kind of lose track after a while.
Jesus.
Business of living. Creation is my happiness. I do what I love. So, in fact, I've got 2 more books coming out here this month. So that'll be, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Rob, you realize that God... Sorry, I think we have a delay. You realize God only wrote 66 books, so you're catching up to him pretty quickly.
Well, God's lazy.
All right, actually, you got an anniversary coming up here. Can you? You 21?
21 years. I got married in October 2001. So
wow. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's
been a good run for the most part.
For the most part. All right. And then plus, what was that?
I just said for the most part.
Yeah. You have also, okay, we are going to be talking about, you do got a new book coming out, so we will be talking about that towards the end. But I just wanted really quickly, you told me that your kids are into anime. You are going to some kind of, can you tell me what you're going to?
We're going to Bowling Green Con. I've been to it before, but it was a lot of fun, so we're going to do it again. One of those anime Comic Con type things. I've never been to one of those until this year. I went to the first one a couple months ago, so now I'll go to more.
Robert, you were stationed in South Korea, right?
Yes, I was in Seoul.
Did you ever go to Japan?
I only passed through.
Okay. Anybody who's not been to Japan, that has got to be one of the craziest countries I've ever been to, because you'll literally just be walking around on the subway or whatever, and you'll just see like anime characters going by, like, right? Have you ever seen that on TV?
No, I can't say that I have.
It is some bizarre stuff. Like, 'cause I guess there's like a lot of cosplay there, so they're really into that in Japan. But what kind of anime are your kids into?
Well, my oldest, she likes mostly like the dramas and whatnot, like supernatural stuff. Like one of her favorites one was from some years ago. It was called Ghost Hunt. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but that one's absolutely worth it. It's only like 12 episodes, but each episode of like 3 or 4 episodes make up a case, and it just takes you through from start to finish.
Oh, really?
Really solid work. That was one of my favorites.
And Kaz, any chance you've ever watched or your kids are interested in any kind of animation? Just curious.
Yeah, my kids are like just now getting into Pokemon, if you consider that
Pokemon.
I was really into DBZ back in the day. Still kind of am a fan of DBZ, but I'm a grown up now, so I'm not like so into it. But
hey, Kaz, as I said, dude, literally, it's really not. I mean, you should be ashamed of that. Don't get me wrong, but you shouldn't be that ashamed of it, because there's other adults.
Not that I'm ashamed of it. It's just that I don't have time. I would be more into it if it was something that I had the time for. But adulting requires.
Yeah. I was just like literally, I went to Japan, and you'll just see people. you probably wouldn't even believe this, man, but you just see like people walking around like with swords and junk, like on the subway, like all full out character. You're like, what the hell? I've literally never seen anything like this in my life, and you'll see it like just all over the place. So there's whole districts there where just everything is anime, and they have like anime cafes, and yeah, they're into some pretty bizarre shit in Japan. I'll just say that they're a little bit out there in some areas. But okay, we got today's topic. You wanna introduce what we're gonna be talking about today, Cass?
So we're going to be talking about aliens, right? We're going to talk about whether or not, or I mean, I believe that Robert does believe that aliens exist, right?
Yeah, I would consider it strongly possible, strongly probable. It's not. I wouldn't say that I know it. I just consider it a likely possibility or a likely probability.
So, you're not an Area 51 alien believer, right?
No, that's ridiculous.
Okay. So, Diesel, are you an Area 51 alien believer?
Oh, this is why I was talking about the broadcasting from an undisclosed location. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I know somebody who lived in Las Vegas for, I don't know how long exactly, maybe like 10 years or something. Yeah, maybe like 10 or 20 years, maybe around 20 years. But he told me he had one of his friends was a military guy, and I guess he known this guy for years. And one night they went out drinking, and he said, kind of like in a drunken state, that this guy told him like they absolutely have aliens there. And he's like, this guy's a really good friend of mine, and he's not someone who would have lied to me about that. So I think that it's like whenever I hear a conspiracy theory, I'm not someone who's like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. There's no way that can be true, because a lot of conspiracy theories that they've said in the past have actually later on with more information came out, and they came out to be true. And the government has been involved with some pretty shady stuff in the past. So if you take a look at things like Operation Paperclip, where we brought over Nazis, scientists, and then if you take a look at some of the experimentation that they were doing on Army veterans and stuff, it's not that out there that the government would be involved in some kind of conspiracy theories, So I do want to ask you, Rob, right off the top, but why exactly would you believe in aliens?
Well, okay, so life exists on Earth. Life on Earth has occurred in a wide variety of forms in some very extreme conditions, from near thermal vents at the bottom of the sea to hot tar to up in our atmosphere. We don't know all the ways that life could exist, but we know that life is possible in some very extreme conditions. Well, we also know that there's roughly 2 trillion galaxies, and each galaxy has between 10 billion and 100 billion solar systems. Each one of those solar systems is going to have a considerable number of planets. You're looking at tens of trillions of chemical interactions per day worldwide on all of these different worlds. It stands to reason, if life can exist, then under some circumstances that it will exist. Now, that isn't to say that it's always going to become intelligent, but life is life. Whether, if you're talking about, a bacterial organism, that's still life. And it's not just planets. Who says it has to be a planet? Could be on a moon of some sort.
Right.
They said Europa was a prime candidate because they think it has warm oceans beneath the surface. There was one scientist, he said he wanted to go ice fishing there and dip a camera in there and tried to lick the camera. So it certainly stands to reason that some form of life that is extraterrestrial to Earth could exist somewhere. So how much is intelligent? That's a different question. I couldn't speak to that. I couldn't guess that.
We barely have intelligent life on this planet, so I'm not so sure if we can find it on another planet. But I do want to ask Kaz right off the top, what are your thoughts on aliens or UFOs or anything like that? Oh, your mic.
Got it.
Your
Sorry
mic.
about that.
There's
Can you hear me now? So I'm on the same
Yeah.
page as Robert, I think, pretty much. I think life elsewhere is probably most likely what is going on. I haven't seen any conclusive evidence that convinces me that that is what's going on, but I think more likely than not, that is the case. I just don't have any evidence to demonstrably say that is the case. So I'm mostly agnostic to it, but I have a probabilistic kind of belief, you might say, that they are out there somewhere.
Yeah, and you know what? I do want to say a couple things off the top. First of all, I am an alien myself. I even have a card that says that I'm an alien. So everybody, yeah, it's true. It's called Alien Registration Card in South Korea. So I am technically an alien here in South Korea. But and technically speaking, Jesus was an alien as well. So I don't like calling him a zombie, though he technically would be a zombie because he came back from the dead. But yeah, by our own admission of being a Christian, we genuinely believe that Jesus was an alien. So there's that. So it's like I can't. Technically speaking, I do believe in aliens as a Christian. I do have some interesting theories that I would like to run by that we can discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe in something probably like, I have some different theories. I would say I definitely do believe that the aliens exist. I obviously don't believe that every story where it's like, I heard something great. It might have been Richard Dawkins or Hitchens. He said something like, why is it that the aliens only like to visit the Midwest, in America? Like, that's where all the sightings are like right in the middle of the country. And so that is an interesting phenomena that, we know some of this stuff has been faked, like the crop circles and stuff like that. Yeah. So obviously some people want attention. So there's obviously some lying stuff that has happened, but I mean, that being said, that doesn't I wouldn't dismiss everything offhand. I think we should take things seriously. And, but that being said, I do want to get into the first questions. Just real quick, Rob, have you gotten a chance to look over those questions?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So we're going to rotate back and forth, me and Kaz. And so, yeah, I do. So the first question is, do you think that so many religions and stories might be an example of aliens visiting the Earth? Because if you take a look at some of the mythologies, like as far as like the Sumerians and the Egyptians, they have some pretty elaborate stories, and they all involve like beings from other dimensions or planets and stuff coming down and interacting with the world. So I'm wondering if you could give me any thoughts on that, Rob.
So the Marvel root, the origin of the god of Thor and whatnot. That's one way to go. I wouldn't recommend it myself. I don't think that is at all probable. I mean, it's an interesting thing to explore as a story, but no. I mean, the probability of aliens visiting Earth itself is just absurdly low when you consider just the sheer scale of the universe and the space between planets, and visiting our planet in different locations and different times. The simplest explanation is that people tell stories, and that's all it really takes. People do that all the time. We've been doing it for longer than written language, and it's not that hard for humans to imagine something greater than humans, especially when we have a propensity for what they call agency attribution. It wasn't, somebody did this. Oh, there's this God that's making the thunder and whatnot, because we know people can make noise. Well, gods could make a bigger noise. So something bigger than people that has intelligence and that you feel like you can have some control over by either worshiping or offering or something. I think it's really the very simplest of explanations. People made stories up to explain things there didn't have to be any alien contact for that to occur because we do that all on our own anyway. So.
Okay, so let me get you on the record with this. You believe that there's some alien life forms out there, but you're doubtful whether or not those have ever visited this planet. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like, okay, you've heard of Socrates, of course, right? But you've never had a conversation with Socrates.
Socrates. His name is actually Socrates.
Is it? Okay. Well, Socrates.
You never saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? They're talking about
very good.
And then they go, look him up. He's under Socrates.
Okay, very good. Anyway, you've never had a conversation with him or Billy the Kid or Napoleon, right? Because even though you overlap with him on the same planet, you don't overlap at the same time. You can't speak. Humans in our modern form have only been around, depending on who you talk to, between 100 and 200,000 odd years. Yeah. For aliens to have encountered humans, they would have had to have shown up at some point in that particular time frame, and to be remembered in such a way that long enough for writing to be invented and people to settle down and start farming and doing all these other things, they would have had to show up about maybe 20,000 odd years ago to enter mythology and whatnot. Even the first cities are 12 to 15,000 years old, something like that. So you allow for a few thousand years of storytelling and mythologizing. But yeah, it just seems very unlikely that long ago some aliens just kind of showed up and inspired some religions and then just took off.
That's actually impossible because the universe is only 6,000 years old, Rob. So I don't know where you're getting your numbers from, but anyway, over to Kaz. You got any follow up or the next question?
So the question was, do I think that religious stories might be examples of aliens visiting the Earth? Mm-hmm. Right? No, I don't think so. I think that the religious gods of antiquity are men who accomplished some kind of feat that their contemporaries found to be what they considered divine based on their limited understanding of reality, and they were therefore deified in cultural what do you call it when the stories were passed down through their cultures. So I don't think that any of the gods from antiquity are actually aliens. They're just stories. But so my questions were geared towards the idea that you were probably a Area 51 type of alien believer and not like me. So I want to ask my first question to Diesel, but okay. I'm going to ask you instead, Robert, if some extra dimensional being were to make themselves known, some kind of alien that is macro in scope, how would you think that would interact with the idea of atheism or theism in general?
That's it. I'll answer that first, and then I will let Rob take a stab at that. This is interesting. I can very well imagine that either side could claim this as evidence for their side to be true. I would say as a Christian, I can't really imagine a scenario where humanity would be like the only planet that God would do something. Like it would seem God would have to be extremely gratuitous to create like billions of, as Robert was talking about, billions of galaxies and trillions of stars and all that stuff. It doesn't seem like a very logical thing to do, to create all of those just to create life on one little small planet on a speck of a mediocre, solar system, and in our little Milky Way galaxy. It just doesn't really seem something logical to do. So I would have to say that doesn't really make sense to me. So I have to also balance that out with saying, do I believe that if God created another race or humans in other places or aliens, just a completely different kind of life form, I'm not sure if they would ever visit this planet. Like, I don't know, he might keep them separated and stuff. So I don't really know. I don't really know definitively. I mean, I could tell you, I certainly 100% believe in aliens, but it's not like I've ever physically seen one. But I think, like, Rob, you were talking about, some stories of the past or whatever, or maybe Kaz. I mean, I've straight seen, I've seen depictions of aliens, like, in just some artwork, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So the likelihood that everyone was just making up these stories of like saucers flying around back then doesn't really seem like a likely scenario to me. But yeah, Rob, can you go ahead and get in on that one?
Okay. Sorry, I lost sound for a bit. Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just basically wondering if you wanted to comment on how you think the discovery of some kind of macroscopic alien or extra dimensional being would interact with the concept of atheism or theism, if that were something that we'd ever
okay, all right, I did catch that one. All right, so I think it would depend on the nature of that alien itself. Like, if they came from a species that was like ours, that was full of storytellers, that was imaginative and made things up, then maybe they would develop a concept similar to ours of supreme beings. On the other hand, maybe they don't even have a word for atheism because they never invented theism in the first place.
Maybe they're too smart.
It's just, well, there's just life, and they don't think about something like theistic. Like, you might have trouble convincing them that it existed. Like, did y'all ever see the movie The Invention of Lying?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Ricky Gervais.
Because nobody could lie and nobody could say something that wasn't true. There was no religion until this one guy developed the ability to lie, and he invents religion. He blamed everything on the big man in the sky, and they start launching ships up to look for the man in the sky because he's blaming everything bad on the man in the sky. It tells everybody that they're going to get a mansion if they're good, and they're not going to get it if they're not.
Yeah, it was a funny movie.
Yeah, it was. I should go back and watch that one again. So some macroscopic life similar to us in intelligence or greater would probably have a hard time processing our conception of God. But then there was that
right
philosopher, I can't remember who it was. He said, if horses had the minds of men and made gods, then they would make gods that look like horses. People American are the ones that remind them of themselves, just better.
That is very interesting take right there, Rob. Actually, that was kind of my second question. The Bible says not to steal, Kaz, and Kaz just stole one of my questions. So I'll try to make up another one on the spot, but I will talk about this very briefly. Have you ever heard of this idea that aliens could be like future versions of humanity when we learn how to time travel? And so basically, when you see aliens, they're like what humans would look like in 100 or 200,000 years. And essentially, why they come and visit the past, like they can't really interact because they know that they could cause some kind of like basically what you see like in the any movie that involves time travel, like Back to the Future or something like that. But they have the potential to like ruin their own future. So the only thing that they could do is kind of go back, kind of like right now, if let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right now, if we invented time travel, we might want to go back to the past to kind of see like when exactly humans evolved, or to when was the first civilization, just so we can answer those kind of questions. Maybe who was in this land first or something like that, to resolve some kind of issues. It's an interesting theory. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of it, or does that make any kind of sense to you, Rob?
Yeah, I've heard of it before. There was even a video that purported to be from a captured alien. It was. I saw a couple of seconds of it, and like, this is honestly, it felt silly. Like, if you could travel through time, like Bill and Ted, since we brought up Bill and Ted once, why not bring it to it again? You would also probably know well enough that you shouldn't do it, and that you shouldn't do it in order to capture. Like, why would you go back, send a person back? All kinds of things could happen to that person. All kinds of things could go wrong for that person. If you sent anything back in time, you would want to send a machine, and one that was blend in with the era. Like, why would you not send back a drone? What could you not capture with a drone that fits in this era? Like, you could, it wouldn't even matter then if somebody found it. It would just be dismissed as, oh, somebody lost their drone. Why would you send back somebody that would obviously potentially get caught, maybe change their mind, maybe get, alter the past or something like that? It just seems like whenever the people talk about aliens doing this stuff, they act like the aliens are complete morons who are making the worst possible decisions.
That's interesting. Kaz, you ever heard of that? And does that make any sense to you? Or, what are your thoughts?
As far as time travel goes, I don't think that time travel is possible. I kind of lost the thread there a little bit. But yeah, I don't think that time travel is possible. I think it's paradoxical.
But you realize, even according to physicists and, like Einstein, like they believe that it's possible.
I'm sure that they think it's mathematically possible, but I'm sure it can be worked out mathematically. But I mean, I don't think that in reality that it actually is. If you go back in time to do something and alter the past in any kind of way, the butterfly effect, that it's going to change the reality of the present in which you've sent that thing back into the past, altering that paradox is unavoidable. You can't change the past that creates the present from which you alter the past. You see, actually, you can't do that. It makes no sense.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever seen the movie The Butterfly Effect? Because that movie, Ashton Kutcher, whatever his name is, he is a pretty bright dude, but I mean, that guy is an extremely bad actor, and he couldn't act his way out of a wet paper sack, but he actually did a decent job, and I think that was his first time he actually tried to make like a serious role, because he was always doing really stupid like bro coms. Is that we call it a bro comedy? Bro, like, what's the name for that? Where you have like Robert? I know you know this.
Brocom will do. I mean, there's another name for it, but I can't think what it is. Yeah. So he was always doing the brocoms, but he actually did a pretty decent job in that movie, and I related to that movie very strongly, dealing with some similar trauma growing up in my own personal life, and it was interesting that at the end he needed to he burned all of his stuff. To kind of like set free that to like rid himself to get over the past. And I did something very similar after becoming a Christian. I got rid of all of my like, I collected a bunch of money and like doodads and postcards and stuff all around the world. And after I became a Christian, I got rid of it all, and just to start a new chapter in my life. But that movie is one of my favorite of all time. So anyway, I do want to get on to this next question. Hopefully, Kaz, because he's an atheist, before you can steal my next question, I'm going to go ahead and get this in here.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, so Robert, this is an interesting one, but would you volunteer on a one-way trip across the cosmos to visit or settle on a new planet? Like, do you have any desire or intent to be to take a bullet for humanity? Does that something that even remotely interests you at all?
if it kind of depends on the stakes. Like, it's if you're a fan of like isekai stuff, like every now and then you're familiar with the idea of a summoned hero being called away to some other world, and they get all these fantastic powers and stuff like that. If it were something that was maybe, like you say, taking a bullet for humanity, something where it was just necessary for me to be the one to do it, then yes. But if it were just tourism, as much as I would enjoy the experience, because of the way that kind of travel would work, everybody that I know and care about would be dead by the time I got home. And a one-way trip means I'm not coming home anyway. So I wouldn't eagerly volunteer for something like that. If I were single and had no kids and no wife, dog, then on the other hand, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Send me, I'll do that. But as it is, I mean, I've got a life here, and I wouldn't want to give that up.
Well, the thing is that the reason why I was asking you about it being a one-way trip is because it seems, at least right now, as long as it would take us to get to the next planet, or like the next, let's say, like the nearest star, it would take, and I think I might be wrong on this, but it's something like 70,000 years. So at least with our current technology. So any hope to travel to like another planet or solar system, whatever, would be like it would have to be like a multi-generational thing, right? Like it'd have to be like your grandchildren's grandchildren times like 100 or something who would eventually get there. So maybe you wouldn't even be getting there yourself. You would just have to, unless we invent some other kind of technology. But what about you, Cass? Would you have any interest in that?
So, I mean, if I could take my family with me, if there was some kind of ship that I could control, and it had the accompaniment of weapons and shields and all that stuff, the total Star Trek package, then yeah.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
That'd be enough.
All right, next question to you. I have no more questions to steal, so you're good.
I'm sorry about that, man. Yeah, because I was under the impression that
I'm joking.
That Robert was more committed to the alien phenomena than he is. So I had my questions tailored.
It's cool.
I just had to. So
all good.
This question, I guess, is more for everybody. But do we all? How do we all feel, or what do we all make of the claims of alien abduction that people make around the world? How do we distinguish between, if anybody believes in any of these accounts, then how do we distinguish between the true and the false ones?
So that reminds me of something I heard a long time ago. Everybody who believes in telekinesis, raise my hand. All right.
Raise
so
my hand.
There was a physicist, an astrophysicist or an astronomer or something many years ago, back in the 1970s. And every now and then, people would write letters and whatnot to him, saying that, they had been in touch with aliens, and these aliens had a special message for humanity, and they wanted to relay it through him. And what would happen is, he had a way of dealing with this. What he did was he would ask them a complicated.
Oh my God! Sorry. Okay, I'm so unprofessional. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself. I'm still laughing at that joke. I'm muting myself. Hold on. I'm going to mute myself.
A little amusing, but I didn't think it was that freaking funny. All right. Oh, should I have said everybody who believes in telekinesis, raise my finger?
He's not in a place where people get to tell him a lot of jokes in English very often. So,
all right, fair enough. All right, so this guy, he had a way of dealing with this. Whenever somebody wrote to him something like that, he would write back, sending them an equation that humans had not solved, and he would say, "Have they, ask your aliens to the answer to this question, to this physics question that we haven't answered yet." And he would never get an answer to this. If you ask them, oh, should we all love one another or something? Well, obviously the aliens would go, yes, you definitely should do that. But as soon as he asked something that an advanced alien species capable of intergalactic travel should have an answer to, the letters just kind of stopped. Like there was no answer. If somebody wanted to say that they'd been abducted and that they got to see aliens, it's like, we're this close to doing surgery without humans. I mean, we're that close. They're developing machines to do this right now. Why would aliens be personally doing any kind of surgery? That's just asking for trouble. It's curious to me that aliens are always limited by our technical prowess. So I would immediately dismiss anyone who said, oh, aliens abducted me and experimented on me and stuff like that. I just don't buy it. If we wanted to determine if something actually was real and these aliens did do something, then I would ask for some piece of knowledge that would be unique to alien species, but that we could confirm if we knew to look for it. Like what, give us something that's out of the immediate realm of our knowledge, but that we can check if we really care
to. Sorry, I regathered myself from that joke, but I do want to say something. There have been a few threads on, it might be 4chan, I believe. I've heard it because I sometimes like to watch these YouTube videos of, they'll be like, as you said, like some time travel or whatever. He says, he comes on here. The time traveler comes on to ask me anything. And then he'll say, I'm from like 20, 23 or like 30 something, whatever, like 1,000 years in the future. And this is what we've evolved to right here. And then people start asking them questions and then they'll just randomly disappear after some time. But yeah, I think that would be a good way to test. And it seems like that would be a very logical thing to do, what you were talking about, Rob. I did see something else. You mentioned about doing surgeries without people. I'll tell you this, in South Korea, they have this machine. Maybe I'll put it up right here, but I'll put it up on a video clip. But it makes coffee. It's like it's a robot arm. South Korea, they're really into technology and stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we're making coffees without humans. So I'm pretty sure the surgeries without humans will be, really quickly coming about. I am just curious. Have you ever seen any like sci-fi movies that have this as either recurrent theme, or do you have any interest in movies like that, in that genre? I will say this, a cool story. My girlfriend was coming to Santa Barbara. She was flying into Santa Barbara. And so I made her this big welcome to California sign. Like I put the state flag and everything. Like it was a really cool flag. I had all kinds of interesting facts. And this Arnold Schwarzenegger was our governor at the time. But Sigourney Weaver was on the plane with her. So I'm there with the sign, and then Sigourney Weaver comes out, and I'm like, hey, my girlfriend's coming here. And so Sigourney Weaver from Alien wind up signing that for her. But I was very, very, very interested in X-Files as a kid. That was like one of my favorite shows. So I'm curious if you guys have any personal favorites related to aliens or time travel or anything like that. Rob?
I mean, yeah, I love sci-fi, and I love the Aliens franchise. That was, well, some of it. I think Predator was better than Aliens, at least some of it.
Oh, did you see? Hold on. Did you see the new prequel for the Alien? What was it?
No,
on
I haven't
Hulu.
seen.
It's really good.
I'll have to give it a look though when I get some free time. But yeah, I love that kind of thing. In fact, one of my new books is kind of, I guess you could say, a soft sci-fi. So deals with aliens and whatnot.
Oh yeah. Any other big ones that you like?
If I had to pick one, well, time travel, it would probably be Terminator, which is technically a time travel movie. Although I think the whole part of the fundamental concept is flawed, it's still a good movie series. But if I had to pick something else, I guess you could say Star Trek has some interesting looks at time travel. A leads to B leads to C. is something that comes back around in that one.
By the way, we mentioned Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Any chance you saw the new one?
No, and I refuse. I refuse. That one did not happen. It does not exist. It did not. No, there was no new one.
It's really good.
Didn't happen.
It's good. I gotta watch it.
Nope.
What about you guys? Do you have any? Do you have any personal favorites?
I love all sci-fi. Well, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, not all. But Star Trek is. I'm like the biggest Trekkie ever. Not ever, but I've seen almost all Star Trek. One thing I haven't finished yet is the Picard series, and I'll catch up to it eventually. As far as time travel goes, Back to the Future trilogy is my go-to.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, classic.
I just saw two. Yeah, I just saw two. You know what? I will say this. Yeah, two is so interesting because he goes back and he has to interact with himself, interacting in the past in the first one. I mean, I thought that was a fascinating. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I thought that was a fascinating plot.
Who hasn't seen
twist.
Back to the Future yet? I mean, get a life. Yeah.
If you haven't, you can always go back to the past and then see it in the past. But I will say this: sci-fi is my favorite genre, movie and film genre. One of the reasons why is because it takes reality and it distorts it, and it shows like humanity at some breaking points, and like shows the morality and frailty of humanity. And I think the best series, even to this day, I mean, I haven't seen one that's done better, but the Twilight Zone, some of that is technically not sci-fi, has to do more fantasy. But there were some really interesting thoughts and themes in there. And most recently, one that I think has been absolutely fascinating. I'm not sure if I don't think they deal with time travel in there. But Black Mirror really dealt with some. Black Mirror I would call like the Twilight Zone of our time. And then I will say this, that if you take a look at Interstellar, which I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away a spoiler here, but let's just say Matt Damon has a character on there, and he has to do something really, really shady in order to preserve his own life. And he actually puts humanity's existence in jeopardy just so he can preserve his own life. And it was a fascinating take to kind of, and he knew what he was doing is wrong, but he still had this natural inclination to want to save his life. I mean, I think it's a really fascinating idea to explore time travel and kind of like maybe even getting to the roots of our own existence, because I don't think you can really have this conversation without honestly exploring humans' origins and stuff. So whether or not we're like in Prometheus and Aliens, whether or not we were like seeded by another civilization or whatnot, there's some interesting there's some interesting storylines and philosophy.
For a second.
I'm sorry?
We should talk about that for a second, maybe.
Go ahead. You want to get in here, Chris? Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think about that idea, Robert? Panspermia, the idea that Earth's life came from another planet. Oh, he's muted.
You're muted, Rob.
There we go. It's as reasonable a possibility as anything else. I mean, an asteroid, say, impacting Mars at a time when there was water and whatnot and life occurring there and getting hurtled to Earth. It's not an impossibility, but it seems more probable to me that life occurred here. But again, we don't actually know. So it's not something I can necessarily rule out either. We know that it's possible for something like that to continue to exist in space, to be frozen, to survive re-entry. So it's a possibility. I don't know that I would call it a probability, but it's a possibility.
I'll tell you what's interesting. What I think is interesting on this is that it seems like that idea seems to be like an atheist selling point because because I think most atheists recognize just the absolute improbability of life arising on this planet. Even if you say that this planet's been here for 5 billion years, whatever, the likelihood that the conditions for life to evolve in and of itself, whenever there's most of the planet's early billions of years, it wasn't possible to have life here because it was either too hot or too cold or whatever. So you have that, and then you just the I'm not going to say impossibility because I don't know exactly what is or not possible, but it just seems really unlikely that like life could evolve here in this time. So if you kind of like say, well, maybe an alien evolved in another side of the universe, 10 billion years ago, whatever, and maybe they survived until now and are seeding people around the universe, around the cosmos, that might make some kind of sense because maybe they have kind of figured out how to genetically engineer. I say like that's a big plot line of Prometheus. And there was another one called Mission to Mars with Gary Sinise, and that's the scenario. That's the plot line in there. Like we've been seeded by probably Martians or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think Mission to Mars. It was from Mars, but I think that's a interesting. Some of these questions, honestly, I don't think that any of us are going to be able to figure out. So it is kind of like, it is interesting to talk about and to theorize, but because we haven't been around for billions of years, we're looking at things now in our present time, and we're trying to make the best guesses on what we think might have happened. But the reality is that we're just trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. So, yeah, you want to get in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on what you just said. I don't find Robert, you let me know if you agree with this or not, but I don't find the idea of abiogenesis to be particularly unlikely. I obviously think that the conditions in which abiogenesis likely arose are tumultuous and probably rare, but I don't think that they are unlikely given the vastness of space and time, which are obvious and evident just looking out. So I think that and also, I think that panspermia is a shifting of the goalpost. It's not really an answer to how life came about. It's just an answer as to how the life here came about.
Right.
If life came about elsewhere in the galaxy or the universe, it still had to arise originally somewhere else. And so abiogenesis would still probably be, in my estimation, the best answer to that. But Robert, do you think that that's...
I would say, all right, so I don't consider abiogenesis to be terribly unlikely. The Earth is about 4.8 billion years old, and the earliest evidence of life are trace fossils that took about 500 million years to appear. You're looking, like I was saying before, at trillions of different chemical interactions taking place simultaneously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, over the course of hundreds of millions of years. If it is possible, if it is possible, then that possibility becomes an ever increasing probability. Honestly, 500 million years is nothing in terms of the universe and how long our universe is likely to last, especially on the scale of hundreds of quadrillions, I guess, of worlds and moons all over the place, all undergoing different processes at different times. This is just one of the places where, or maybe the first place it succeeded. We may be the first intelligent life. We may be the first place in the universe that life even occurred, but we don't know all the ways that life can occur. We only know we only have a pretty good idea of how things started here, and none of the processes that people think are necessary are impossible here. So it seems probable that life developed here. Panspermia, like you said, just shifts the goalpost, puts it some other planet somewhere, maybe Mars, I don't know. But that doesn't change the core fact that abiogenesis took place somewhere. I think here, but I can't necessarily rule out something like Mars.
You know what I've heard. This is an interesting theory that, and again, I'm just speculating some stuff here because there's this idea. So, Robert, you were talking about, okay, I've never talked to Socrates or Billy the Kid or whatever, because we've existed at different times, right? And likewise, it might be the case that, like, I've heard scientists describe it like this: like, if there is alien life form out there, think of it like a Christmas tree, and you might have different lights pop up and flash out of existence. And they're not necessarily going off at the same time, because it might be the case that that life is evolving different places, but eventually, I mean, humanity gets to, or not humanity, but whatever life source it is, just gets to a point where their technology gets so great that they just destroy themselves. Have you heard of that, Rob? Because it seems like they call it like some level of civilization where they kind of like, they're able, the higher they go up, they're able to do certain things like harnessing the power of a sun or something like that.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, partnership scale.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of speaking out of my butt here because I'm not actually like really well versed on this, but the idea is that even if, let's say, there have been alien life forms in the past, maybe they're all like, maybe at this exact moment, maybe we're the only ones out there. And I mean, honestly, from the direction that we're going right now, it seems like we're going to destroy ourselves unless there's some really big changes. I mean, it seems very likely that we could destroy this planet. And so what I think about this is like, either way, however you are accounting for life, whether it's via God or via evolution or whatever it is exactly you guys believe in about how everything came into existence, like right here and right now is the most important thing, that we have humanity in front of us right now, you know, that we have other life forces, whether it be whether it be animals or plants or anything like that. Like, I think when we start thinking too much about what else is out there, we can kind of lose sight of what we definitely know for sure is here right now, which is each other, our family, and people around the world. So, you have any thoughts on that, Rob? By the way, is that your wife? Is that your wife?
No, that was my wife. That was when I had a little bit. So yeah, I would kind of agree with that. The now matters. The people around us matter now. Tomorrow matters. I don't put a whole lot of stock in the opinions of dead people. I consider tradition to be basically peer pressure from dead people. If something is a good idea, do it. If it continues to be a good idea, keep doing it. If it turns out it's a bad idea, or it was always a bad idea, or it becomes a bad idea, then maybe either don't do it, or if you're still doing it, stop doing it. It drives me crazy where people are like, well, we've always done it this way before, as if that's an argument to not do anything any differently.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not a reason not to do things differently. If you come up with something better, every good idea started off as a new idea at some point. Every bad idea seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, really.
Doing it. I mean, people learn from their experiences. They learn and have the ability to change. We can do better, so we should do better. There was a thing I was reading the other day about planting fruit trees and vegetables and things like that along sidewalks and whatnot, so that everybody would be able to eat at no charge. Just pluck a few carrots or pick up, a plum or some fruit or something, just walking the street. To me, it's like, why not? That's a pretty good idea. What do we gain, or what do we have to lose versus what do we have to gain? What we lose is nothing other than bleak useless cityscape. And what we gain is people who are no longer hungry and who are eating better food. And that reduces the overall strain on stores and whatnot to try and provide for more people who really can't pay. There's no losing there, so that's a thing that I think we should do. But people saying, well, I don't want to do that. and their reason is simply, well, it wasn't done before. I don't like traditions.
Kaz, I want to get your thoughts on that, but I know you like those little sayings, so you have a lot of those really good sayings. That's one of the reasons I love talking to you, Rob. But in Bible college, they told us that the last words of a church before it dies is, "We've never done it that way before." So I thought that was interesting. And then also the reason why we don't do the trees is, have you ever heard the saying that if you sell a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, you destroy a potential market? You ever heard that one, Rob?
Yeah, I've heard that one, and
I think that's
I'm okay with it.
What?
I'm okay with losing a little bit of a market.
Yeah,
especially-
no, I agree 100%. Kaz, you have any thoughts on that? You want to get in here?
Which part? The market and the fish?
No. Just about the humanity that we have. Like for me, it's like looking to the stars, like looking downward.
So yeah, I get what you're saying, and I do kind of agree with it. Where I disagree, though, is that I think that when we look to the stars and when we use goals that we derive from that pursuit of the stars as objective standards for good things to do as a society, those have the effect of uniting humanity. Like when John F. Kennedy announced the space race, that was a uniting thing for America, right? Now, it doesn't work because that was country versus country, and that was disunifying for the planet, but it was unifying for a country. So the rate, it was a competition that gave us more technology as a species and advanced our ability to do all kinds of things. There's so much technology that came from that space race; it's unimaginable. And so many people so many lives have been changed. So when we compete in a friendly kind of way, that can be a cooperative effort as well. So I mean, looking to the stars is a way of focusing on humanity if we do it the right way. If we're doing it in a sense of like, oh, we're going to dominate and take over and prevent these people from getting there because we are the superior ones, then yeah, you're right. Then it's a failure, and I see your point entirely. So it just depends on how we actually do it.
That is fascinating. Thank you for that. That is a really, really interesting. That's an interesting take. I do want to say that the Christians won that war against the godless atheists. So I'm just throwing that out there. A little dig of both of you. But no, I think that's great. I think that's a really interesting way to think about it, because if you think about how that space race started with the Soviet Union, because they were able to get the Sputnik up first. And so that was like motivational for us to try to, outdo them. I mean, basically, that whole, Cold War, and it's basically, I would imagine, like two kids in a playground saying, hey, my dad drives this, or my dad does that. My dad could beat up your dad or whatever. I mean, I literally this thought just came to me not too long ago, because I actually wrote about it in my first book, but we'll get to book writing right now as we close off. But I remember with my cousin how we got into this extremely big debate. I mean, he's about like 10 months younger than me, but I mean, we were going on and on and on about whose toothbrush was shinier, right? We debated that thing, man. We were asking everybody. I mean, and it was so important to us at the time. And we always used to fight about what little toys we'd get in the, the cereal boxes. But that really is like some childish stuff there, right? And I think you're on to a good point, because as humanity, like we might eventually need to look to the stars to save ourselves. Whether it maybe even in the solar system. We might need to go and colonize one of like Jupiter's or Saturn's. I think they have something like 50, 70 moons or something. There's a lot of moons out there, and we might need to get there at some point. And so we might need to work together and share. I work at I teach English to like these guys who, you guys ever seen the glass that can like fold for smartphones? Right. So I have, in fact, these are the stickers right here. They cover your phones whenever you go into there because these little stickers, they don't want you to use your camera in there. And so if you were to take off this sticker, it's crazy. I didn't realize this because I accidentally went in there without it covered, and I got like a warning that I might get fired if I do it again. But anyway, if you pull off this sticker right here, I'm not sure if you could even see this, but it turns and it'll say void right there. So they'll know if you've taken off the sticker on there, because they I guess they don't want that technology of to get out, could be very competitive. But I think that might be talking about some of the stages, the early stages of a civilization. That might be one of the stages that we're just going to have to get over as a species if we are going to survive. This idea that I can hoard knowledge or try to do stuff to benefit myself or my company, that might just be something that we need to evolve past because I've never heard anyone explain it like you, Kaz. So I really want to thank you for your input on that. We are going to wrap up right now. We're on the top of the hour. Anybody have any last thoughts before we talk about Rob's book coming out? Kaz, any last thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say that I appreciated the conversation, Rob. I think we agree. Sorry, I had a misconception of your ideas before I came here. So thank you for sharing your ideas. So thanks a lot.
Rob?
All right. Well, that was fun. Yeah, no, that was fun. We didn't get to everything that was on the list, but hey, something for next time. This is one of those topics where you can go on for quite a long ways and never really get tired of it. Not to mention you can talk sci-fi, which is always fun.
Right.
Star Trek is better than Star Wars.
I think no matter where we land, though, we could pretty much say that guy was a total quack. What was his name, Kaz? Can you tell us really briefly about him?
Oh, Bob Lazar.
What was that guy's name?
Yeah, Bob Lazar.
Can you tell us briefly about that guy?
I know that he got famous on Joe Rogan's podcast because he was making a bunch of claims about being harassed by the government and having been working in Area 51 and all this other stuff. I just know that from my recollection of the limited amount of looking into his claims that I came across, I came away with the impression that he's probably a very skilled
con man.
I just don't believe that he's being genuine about his claims, and that's all I'll say. I'm not going to slander the guy. I don't know him.
Right.
I don't know what he really believes. I just don't believe that what he's saying is true.
Well, just really quickly, we also talked about beforehand. We talked about that David Icke or Ike. However, is that his name? David Icke. David Icke.
I thought it was Ick.
Ick. Okay, Ick. Whatever. Anyway, he believes in some pretty icky ideas about lizard people and some other crazy, bizarre stuff. So, I think specifically on this issue, that because it is so sensational, because it's so like whoa, like taboo, I think there's potential to get a lot of people's attention, and so you are going to have in this field a lot of quacks and people doing things like the crop field, there's crop circles. So there are going to be a lot of people faking stuff. So that is something we got to take into consideration. But there are some interesting things to talk about. But that being said, Rob, I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about this right here. What is this?
Yes. This is the 6th book in the Who Endures series. The title comes from a Latin expression, who conquers, who endures. The main
The Red
character,
City.
yeah, this is in this particular scene was used for the cover. The main character has gathered a large number of people who were scattered, who once occupied that city. It was once their home. They lost a war. They were scattered, sold into slavery. She used her enormous wealth to basically buy them all back, to end their diaspora and return them to their homes, and intending to make herself the ruler of that city, and intending to use that city to then make herself empress of the entire region. So it's a kingdom building style fantasy novel series. She's definitely, she's a villainess with some very redeeming qualities to her. So.
That's interesting. You said she's a villain, right? She's a villain?
Yeah, she does think. Well, she has an interesting kind of motivation. In her backstory. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good. No. You're the man.
Okay. So in her backstory, she was once an elven slave in a human supremacist nation. And one of the rulers of that country, one of the members of their council, had a change of heart. He had, I guess you could say, a moral awakening. And he set about trying to set their people free, betrayed his country, saw it overthrown, and her people and herself all liberated. In the end, he dies. He's executed for his crimes before his moral awakening. And she has this fixation, since she knew him personally and had slowly, come to value him a great deal, with trying to get him brought back from the dead. So she is led to believe that the God that is responsible for the new religion there will return him to her if she can make an offering of sufficient value to his to the rulers of the kingdom that spread his worship. So she sets out to conquer an empire in order to make it a province of another empire. And her whole goal is to see him brought back from the dead.
Don't give away too many spoilers, because we're going to be giving away a trilogy right here. So if you want to win, you can enter in Who Endures, hashtag that. Robert's links are in the description here, or you could do RHE Podcast. Rob, we're going to be giving away the first 3 books. So we're going to give away 3 sets of that, so you can win a chance to win. Rob, even though Robert doesn't believe in God, you actually sure write a lot about God or religion and stuff, Rob. So you're kind of
in a very religious environment, so it did have an impact on me, and it can be an interesting subject to discuss. Now, I think people can do sometimes good things with bad intent, and bad things with good intent, and good people can do bad things, and bad people can do good things. It's not always cut and dry. You can have a villain who has very noble intentions, and those things made them into a villain. It's never as simple as just good and evil. Sometimes
there's grace.
What's that saying about the road to hell being paved with good intentions? Something like that.
It's paved with atheists. That's the other one. I'm just kidding.
That one's one of my dark fantasy series. Like I said, she's very villainous in her behavior, but she has eventually a kind of a noble intent. She slowly grows to care about the region and the people there, and wants to protect it. So it's semi-redemptive, but not completely.
So I do want to say, I do. This would be the last thought before I close out here and leave with this outro. But that is an interesting concept that you're talking about there, Rob, because the reality is that there's very few people I've ever met in my life who I could say were completely good or completely bad. We all have some good qualities, and we all have some really bad qualities, and so we're also at different stages of our lives. Just this week, I was talking to my dad, and I was thinking back to some of the things I did or said back, even when I was like 20, 25, 30. And before I was a father, even as a father, some of the stuff I've done is just really blows my mind that I could behave in such a blind or immoral way, it's kind of just baffling to me. But I am on this journey as a Christian and as a father, as a husband, and trying to be a better person. And so I have to take that same level of patience I have to have with myself and extend it towards others, and understand that people are on their own journey, their own walk in this life. And, as you said, we have aliens that we can think about, philosophize about, but the reality is we have humans here in front of us, and we're on this journey. And so my idea with this concept is this podcast is to have the purple up here to mix the blue and the red, and kind of mix ideas and try to understand. We could have also used gray here to understand not everything is exactly black and white. And I certainly don't have all the answers. I mean, I learned a lot from Rob. I cannot believe that telekinesis joke, Rob. I got lightheaded, man. I almost passed out when you told me that, seriously. But I really enjoyed having Rob. I think, Rob, this is about your 6th or 7th time on. So I know you, and Rob always brings up the time I forgot to press record. So we talked for like 2 hours, and Rob's mentioned that like 10 times already. But
I didn't bring it up this time. That's you. That is all.
You didn't bring it up. You didn't bring it. Props for that. But no, seriously though, on a serious note, you've had some major contributions to this channel, and you're an atheist. I'm a Christian, but I've learned from you. I'm going to use that one in the future, and I'm going to claim it as if I invented it. I cleverly came up with that. So I just do want to thank you guys both for your time. And again, just there's people in front of us. There's people who are starving. There's we could be tempted to debate people but put people down. But like literally as we speak right now, there are the most horrific actions taking place in Ukraine. That is just mind-blowingly evil. There's just some absolutely evil stuff going on right now. So we need to be conscious about what kind of future that we're building for our children, because we all have children here. And so that's kind of like at the end of the day, we need to make sure that they're even going to be around, that their grandchildren are going to be around. So that being said, I do want to leave you with this. And Rob, if you could stick around for 1 minute. Don't forget to hashtag Who Endures if you want to win Rob's books. That might just be like a consolation prize, because Rob, you might suck as an author. I don't know. I haven't read enough of your books, but I assume you're a good author if you could write 30-something odd books at this time. So major kudos on that. And thanks again, Rob. Just stick around for 1 quick minute. And here we go. This outro. Visit.